These are the Georgians who make the law, but do they own it? The General Assembly is suing this man in federal court because he dared to publish all 50 volumes of Georgia law online for free.
America is based on the idea of an informed citizenry because ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you don't know what the law is, you can't obey it, but also you can't change it.
Carl Malamud's publicresource.org is the defendant in the copyright infringement lawsuit filed by the General Assembly.
In America, the law isn't owned by governments, it's owned by the people, because it's the people that give authority to the government to operate. The people own copyright on the law.
These 50 volumes make up the OCGA, the official Code of Georgia Annotated. The state's official law books contain all the legislative acts, plus public court cases and attorney general opinions. Lawmakers claim putting those annotations together amounts to a creative work, one the state has copyrighted.
There's only one law in Georgia. It's the official Code of Georgia Annotated. Every act in the Georgia Assembly begins an act to amend the official Code of Georgia Annotated.
The 11 Alive investigators asked to inspect the law books under a measure contained within them, Georgia's Open Records Act. The Legislative Council denied our request, suggesting the law is available at many libraries. We had trouble finding the law at 3 local branches, including the Central Library in Georgia's capital city. There's a set at the Public Law Library directly across from the state capitol, but cameras aren't allowed inside without an order signed by a judge. Atlanta's main library keeps its copies out of sight in a back room, where we had to request special access to photograph the volumes, some 6 years out of date.
It just doesn't make sense in an internet era to say you need to travel 30 miles to the county seat to look at the 50 volumes of paper, and that somehow is making the law accessible to you. It isn't.
The Legislative Council wrote we could purchase the law for $378 like anyone else, but warned us not to publish Georgia laws on 11alive.com. The OCGA is, quote, copyrighted by the state of Georgia and shall not be republished without permission. No such permission is granted here.
That response reflects every attempt we've made to get documents from state legislators. Transparency means we get to see government documents from every agency, from the dog catcher to the governor. But the Legislative Council always replies, your request is denied. A lack of transparency that allows the legislature to do deals under the table, because you and I aren't allowed to see the documents. Were you aware the General Assembly is exempt from the Open Records Act?
I was not, no.
Were you aware that the General Assembly is exempt from the Open Records Act?
I did not know that.
But ask to see any documents from a legislator and you'll hear from their lawyer, a lawyer you're paying. That's right, your taxes pay the Legislative Council $125,000 a year so he can turn around and deny your request to see the people's records.
What is this about?
About transparency, like open records, things like that.
I'd rather not. Part of my concern is I'm a governor's floor leader, and so I don't want to. I want to make sure that I'm answering questions consistent with what the administration would want me to, and since I don't know what the question is, if you want to give me the questions, I'll be happy to.
So you want the questions in advance?
Here's how lawmakers avoid questions about their documents. The General Assembly is not an agency under its own Open Records Act. The legislature let itself off on a technicality, one few lawmakers are interested in fixing.
If it ever came up for a vote that the General Assembly would be subject to the Open Records Act, would you be in favor of that?
I just have to look at the legislation. You know, the devil is in the details. If you'll just give me the...
Just want to ask you about transparency in general.
If you want to give me the topic matter, I'll be glad to. Unfortunately, I got to run in here as well.
Ought there to be full transparency, especially when it comes to the people who elected you?
You know, I think you got a fine line there. I don't have an easy answer for that.
Neither does the Legislative Council. All communications between this office and lawmakers are confidential by state law.
Exactly what you're taking a picture for?
This is a public building, isn't it?
Yeah.
When they saw our cameras, Legislative Council staff was sure to draw the blinds to prevent the public from seeing the keeper and defender of the legislature's secrets.
It's the people that own the law. And it's the people that own the legislature. We are all servants of the people when we are in public service, and we just can't forget that.
All right, Brendan, back to the copyright lawsuit. In the age of the internet, why doesn't the state put the law online for free?
Yeah, well, Brenda, Georgia is the only state to sue publicresource.org for putting that searchable version of the official Georgia Code online. Oregon sent a cease and desist letter, but then held hearings and decided to keep the law online for free. Georgia does have a website with the unannotated code, but you have to agree to terms and conditions before you can even see it. And it's not the official OCGA that police cite when writing a ticket or arresting someone.
When does this go to court?
It goes to federal court this week, and we'll stay on top of it.
I know you will. Brendan,
Thanks.
thank you.